I remembered that day, the day she left me. I was beside myself. My thoughts raced a mile a minute, and I wanted nothing more than to cease to exist. 3 years of my life with her was now 3 years wasted. What felt like a lifetime's worth of a connection finally severed, due to God knows what. In the moment, I tried to talk myself out of it all, but the pain of her leaving was too much to bear. I put too much emotional stock into her, and it wasn't coming back. I got into my car, with no intention of coming back. I sat for what seemed like an eternity in my driveway before I decided to start the engine. I knew where I was going. I had known since she sent that damned text. When the crying stopped and the quiet seemed to become deafening, there is a bridge between Boothton's Cross and Edsel, the old Milliker Bridge. It sat some 40 feet or so above the roaring Miami River. I had driven over its thousands of times, nights to see her, and mornings to come back. I figured it would be fitting, to see her face when my name came up on the local news. Before I pulled out of the driveway, I put on the playlist I made her when we first met. I thought the music could say all the things I couldn't. Just Wait Till Next Year by John Miles bled through the speakers first, then a few songs from the Cleaners from Venus, and something by The Cure that she said made me feel like I was floating. Come to find out, because hindsight is always 20/20th, she never actually listened to it. I let it all play. The drive to Milliker Bridge from my side of Boothton's Cross takes about 15 minutes on a normal night. I drove slowly. I wasn't in a rush to get where I wanted to go, and to tell you the truth, something in me wanted a light to turn and stay red, something in the engine to malfunction, or a cop to pull me over and make me sit with my decision a little while longer. None of that happened. The lights were all green. The road was empty. The playlist kept droning on. I pulled onto the bridge and stopped in the middle. One other car darted past me as I looked and leaned over the side of the bridge. The darkness of the water below was hypnotizing. This is where everything will bookend, with Boothton's Cross behind and Edsel ahead. I kept the playlist on. Joy Division came roaring through the speakers. Atmosphere, the hymn for people who've run out of options. I stood there for some time. I felt the seconds drag on and on. The wind off the water was cold, in a way that felt deliberate, like it had been waiting to take me into its cold embrace. The river was black and rushing against the jagged rock. It looked like it had taken in everything that had ever been thrown into it. It started to downpour. That's when I saw her. She was standing on the Edsel end of the bridge. She was wearing a dress that was bright white and too thin for the weather and hanging off her drenched body. Her hair was dark and plastered flat against her face and neck. She was barefoot on the asphalt. I was taken aback by this. I blinked. She was still there. I started to walk towards her. She looked pitiful. I noticed that the air started to get heavier as I got closer. Up close, she was beautiful in the same way old photos were beautiful. She stood still. There was a light emitting from her. Not a literal one, but a feel, or a vibe. Her eyes were pale, like color had decided to fade away some years ago. "You look like you need something to drink," she said. She was flat and certain in her statement. It was hypnotic. I looked at the railing, then at her. "Yeah," I said, "I probably could." She tilted her head toward Edsel. "There's a place I know. Just follow the road down past my place. You'll find it. I'll show you." How could there be a your place when the only thing between here and town is A? And at the blink of an eye, she was gone. I looked around only to find her in the passenger seat of my car. I ran to her. "What the hell are you doing?" I asked her. She sat with her hands folded in her lap. "Just drive," she said coldly. Something about the tone of her voice held me in her grasp. I got in the car and noticed it was colder than normal. The temp had to have dropped by a few degrees. I noticed that the coffee I had left in the queue folder that morning had a skim of ice across the top. It caught me off guard, but I didn't say anything about it. New Order came through the speakers. Ceremony. The song the living wrote about the dead. She didn't react to the music, but something in her posture settled the way people settle when they hear something familiar from their past. I pulled off the bridge and into Edsel as she directed me through streets that got narrower and older the further we went on, and I followed without question. We were in a part of town I have never seen before. I had grown up in and around the Edsel Boothton's Cross area. I knew every road, every dead end, and every shortcut that saved you a couple minutes on a good day. But this street had an air to it, an air that spelled one word: uncanny. Between an old granary and a chain-linked fence that was covered with dead kudzu vine lay a brick building that had lost its color due to weathering. A Pabst Blue Ribbon sign hung in the only window with a few letters burned out. It had a gravel parking lot that held a half a handful of cars in it, and a red neon sign hung over the entrance of the building that simply read Bobos. I could hear loud blues music playing through the walls before I was able to cut the engine. "What is this place?" I asked. Before I realized what was happening, she was already outside and opening my car door. "Just a place," she said. "It's been here a while." Inside had low ceilings and wood paneling that covered every wall. It looked like something straight from the 70s. It had 2 pool tables sitting under hanging lights with pull chain switches. There was a bar that ran across the back of the place. There were maybe 6 or 7 people total, scattered like they'd each arrived with an express purpose, but silently agreed otherwise. No one looked up when we walked in. The jukebox was playing old George Thorogood songs, which gave the place a quality that existed only inside cheap dive bars. The bartender was an old man with a face that looked rigid like the surface of the moon. He placed 2 cold beers in front of us. We hadn't ordered anything. I looked at him, puzzled, and he looked past me. He went back to polishing glasses. I looked at the mystery girl sitting beside me. She had her hands around her bottle, not drinking. You could tell she was freezing. It was radiating off of her. "So, what's your name?" I asked. "I could tell you, but you're gonna have to guess." "I don't know, Gertrude." "Cold." "Ah, Sheba." "Warm." "Look, we're gonna be here all night with this stupid game. What's your name?" She took a sip of her drink. "Kelly," she said with a jilted grin. "You want to talk about her?" I was stunned. I never brought up my ex's name. There was something about the way she said it, the way she seemed genuinely interested. So, I did. I told her everything. I honestly don't know what loosened me to it, whether it be the beer, the late hour, or the odd sway that she was attentive to every word I said from then on out. She didn't shift in her bar stool, didn't look at her phone. She didn't do anything. I haven't had that in a long time. She received it, all of it. I told her about how Kelly and I met, about the good stretch in the middle when I was certain, in that specific stupid way, you're certain once or twice in life. I told her about the playlist, how I'd spent 3 weeks meticulously building it, song by song. I told her about how I found out she never listened to it, and how that small fact had arrived on top of everything else, like the last book on a stack that finally tips. She listened to all of it. When I was done, the bar was quieter than it had been. The jukebox moved onto something by the Cramps, Fever, that long, slow exhale of a song. It sat over the room like a storm cloud. "I had someone too," she said. Her voice was the same temperature as the air around her, cold. "A boy he used to pick me up after the dances out on Archer Avenue. Same spot every time, leaning on the hood of his father's car. I used to see his headlights from a quarter mile away and feel like everything was going to be all right." She paused, looked down at her bottle. "What happened?" I asked. "December," she said. The road was icy. The other car came through a stop sign. She stopped for a second. I was on my way back to him. The song moved on. Nobody else in the bar seemed to be breathing. "He waited for me that night," she continued. "Stood out in the cold for 2 hours before somebody came and told him. And after that, she stopped." Something moved across her face that wasn't quite grief, because it was too old for that. Grief that had been worn smooth by decades of repetition. After that, he waited anyway. A different kind of waiting. The kind that doesn't end. I stared at the bar top. "I couldn't reach him," she said. "That's the part I carry, not the other thing. The not being able to reach him, watching him wait." The jukebox shut off. There was heavy silence in the room. She started talking again. Her voice was loud and booming compared to the silence. The mystery girl turned in her bar stool and looked at me the way she did on the bridge. Direct, pale-faced, and without any form of social cushion. "Is there anyone waiting on you tonight?" she asked. I thought about my mother, who always told me she loved me. I thought about my buddy Zussman, who always seemed to have something positive to say about everything. I thought about the playlist still running in the car outside, and how I'd made it for someone I loved. I could love again? Yeah, I said. I think there is. She nodded once, like that was the answer she'd been holding the door open for. I'm not sure how much later it was when I noticed she was gone. There was no moment of it. Not as dramatic as Kelly's exit from my life. Nothing. I just reached out for my beer and glanced to my left, and the bar stool was empty. As if it was empty all night. I looked at the bartender. The girl I came in with, I said. Did you see where she went? He stopped polishing his glass. Looked up at me with those moon crater eyes for the first time all night. Thought both of the drinks were for you? You look like you needed them. You came in alone, he said. I almost argued. I decided he was old and the bar was dark. People miss things. I left more cash than I owed on the bar and got into my car. The playlist cycled back to the beginning. John Mao's again, the way it started. I sat there for a moment, reeling from the night. I reached for my phone. My hand stopped. From the corner of my eye, I saw that there was a flower on the passenger seat. It was white, dried, and brittle, holding its shape the way pressed flowers do after years between the pages of a heavy book. I hadn't seen it before. I brought it inside when I got home and set it on the kitchen table and sat across from it until the sun came up. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I couldn't stop thinking about the events of the night previous. It was all striking to me. I couldn't stop thinking of the words that the mystery girl said. There's a place I know. Just follow the road down past my place. You'll find it. I'll show you. Those words kept repeating in my head. The only thing between Milliker Bridge and Edsel is a crash site memorial. A memorial for Gabriella Bednarczyk. She died December 14th, 1978. I can never forgive myself. I have failed as a man and as a father, and in that failure, I have discovered just how deeply self-hatred runs through my veins. My daughter's mother died at childbirth. What followed was the most profoundly painful 4 years I have ever experienced. The only thing that stopped me from leaving it all behind and rejoining my wife was the beautiful face of my daughter. She brought me light in the darkest of times. I cannot stress enough how important this little girl was to my well-being and mental stability. And now she's gone, and I have a feeling she's never coming back. She was so smart. God, I couldn't believe how smart she was. It was like she came home from the hospital potty trained. By 2, she was telling me to stop leaving the seat up. Obviously, with the death of her mother, I needed to be alone for a while. I couldn't just walk back into the world and present myself as though nothing had happened. I needed rediscovery. More than anything, though, I needed to raise my daughter. I watched her grow day by day, and before I knew it, my little girl was turning 4 years old. We spent her birthday out on the town, walking up and down toy aisles and scarfing down all the ice cream we could eat. I even went out and bought her the most adorable birthday outfit I could find. We found a cute little Disney princess dress, and we topped it off with a bright red bow at the top of her head. We decided to end the day at her favorite park, and as I watched her run and climb about the equipment, this random lady came and started up a chat with me. She asked which kid was mine, and I pointed to my daughter, prompting Anne, "Oh wow, she's so gorgeous." From the lady, we talked about kids and being single parents. I won't lie, she was attractive. Far out of my league, but down to earth enough to have a real conversation with me. I told her about what happened with my wife, and I could have sworn it was like she scoffed. She quickly recovered by fanning her eyes over her sunglasses and fawning sadness with a, "You seem like a strong man, but I pray to God you get through this." In that moment, I turned to her, only intending to thank her, but she pulled me in for a hug while she cried softly into my shoulder. She just kept holding me tighter and tighter for what felt like an eternity, before suddenly dropping her arms and wiping the sad expression off of her face. She pulled away and, without a word, turned and left towards the parking lot. Confused, I turned back towards the playground and saw that my daughter was nowhere to be found. I started calling her name, my panic growing with each passing second. It wasn't long before I was screaming for my daughter at the top of my lungs as tears fell down my cheeks. I didn't leave that park once. I stayed there until detectives told me to leave the area, and even then, I watched the scene from the parking lot. I've come back every day. I've put posters up all around town. I've made public appeals, and I have knocked on countless doors. She was just gone, without a fucking trace. From the very beginning, I told the police about the woman from the park that day, how it seemed like she was distracting me while whoever she was working with snatched my little girl in broad daylight. They sketched her to the best of their abilities, and nothing came of it. It was like she was a ghost. No, not a ghost. She was like a viper that had been waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and she found it. It's been a devastating year. It goes without saying. I thought I'd be prepared for the anniversary. I thought that I'd be able to stay strong and maintain my composure. But the entire day, I was nothing short of crippled. I came home from work to an empty house for the 365th time. I ate dinner alone. I watched her favorite show, surrounded by her favorite stuffed animals, and I ate a slice of cake with a side of ice cream for her birthday. The tears exhausted me while the Paw Patrol theme blasted through the TV speakers at max volume. I started drifting off to the sound of cartoons, right there on the couch, before a knock at my door brought me back. I thought I had dreamed it at first, but when it happened again, my guard went up. It was nearly midnight. Knocks at this hour are never good news. I waited in anticipation for another set of knocks, just staring at the door anxiously, but no knocks came. Instead, a sheet of paper came gliding towards my feet from underneath the front door. It landed under my right foot, and I could make out a phrase written on it: "Happy Anniversary." My daughter was so smart. She was the smartest 4-year-old I had ever known. So smart, in fact, that she was already learning to spell her own name. It was what we had been working on together before I lost her. She wasn't great at it yet. Her S's were shaped like 5s, and she couldn't write Y's correctly. She wrote them backwards, just like how they were in this message. What wasn't my daughter's handwriting, however, was the message on the back of the paper. "You seem like a strong man, but I pray to God you get through this." With all the pieces connecting, I bolted to the front door and threw it open as hard as I could. The porch was empty. There wasn't another soul in sight. But what I did find was my daughter's red bow on my welcome mat. This happened a couple of weeks ago. I was waiting at a small train station about a 15-minute walk away from my place of work. It was Thursday, and it had been a long week. I had 2 assignments due for university that week and had spent many nights not sleeping properly due to worry about deadlines, as well as working to other shifts that week. I had worked a late shift that night, finishing at 21:30, meaning by the time I arrived at the station, I had missed the 21:31 train, and the next one wasn't for another hour. At first I thought it was just me at the station, but as I sat down and put my bag on the seat next to me, I noticed a dark hooded figure at the far end of the station. I figured it was a man based on the build, and it was cold. The station didn't have walls, and the breeze was constant, so I also had my coat and hood up. I had one headphone in to listen to an episode of a podcast to try and stay awake while also being aware of my surroundings, as the area I work in isn't the nicest. At first, I didn't pay the figure much attention, but did occasionally make sure I could still see them. However, after I noticed them pacing up and down the station, I made sure I checked more often, and every time, I could still see them passing up and down, but never getting too close to the seating area. After about 20 or so minutes, I got a text from a friend who asked me how work was. I told them it was fine, and told them about the guy saying, to which they told me to make sure I keep an eye because of how shady the area the station was located in was. I assured them I was, and we kept texting with me, still checking on the figure and my surroundings every so often. After another 20 minutes on one of my checks, I noticed them at the far end of the station, seemingly back turned to me. But as I was about to look back at my phone too, change the episode of my podcast, and check the time, they seemed to run and jump onto the tracks in front of a passing train. And in the second, I saw that my heart jumped and panic set in. I went to shout, but quickly stopped, as the figure vanished as the train's headlights passed over it, not like they landed, but it was as if the lights passed right through them, and they didn't project a shadow onto the walls of the bridge the train was coming under. They just seeming vanished. The train came through without problem, passing the station quickly. I was in shock, shaking, and panicking, trying to find the figure in the bushes on the other side, but they weren't large and sat. beneath a metal fence which sat on a dockyard, but I couldn't see them anymore. Not Simone crouching, or Simone walking down the track, or Simone climbing the fence. Nothing. I was terrified now, and it completely stopped me from feeling tired. I called my friend, telling him in a panic and worrying about what I should do. He told I'm mostly overtired and just was mistaken, but I was 100% certain of what I had been seeing for the past hour. We stayed on the phone until my train arrived, and he kept telling me I was fine. It was just my brain playing tricks on me. He was just trying to calm me down. The rest of my journey home was a panicked mess. It was about an hour until the train pulled into my home station, though it felt longer, much longer. The train was pretty much empty the entire way, even though it only had 2 carriages. I put myself in a corner in the front carriage to make sure I could see every direction to which Simone would approach out of pure fear. Once I arrived at my home station, it was about a 20-minute walk to my house. I basically speed walked home, making it in 15, checking my back constantly and without any headphones in. Once I made it home, I made sure everything was locked and went to bed. Being at home made me feel much better, but I still couldn't sleep properly. In the morning, I was better and continued life, the usual chucking it up to hallucinating due to lack of sleep and being exhausted from work. But the more I thought about it, can a hallucination last an hour? Can it be the same even if I wasn't directly looking at it the whole time? I definitely didn't see it as my train left the station. I checked out of panic, and no one else but me got on the train as I had opened the front carriage door, and we left not mere seconds after I got on. It worried me all over again, but I still chucked it up to an elaborate hallucination.